Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me and the rest of the audience here to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, and maybe a little bit of television, maybe a little bit of UFC, maybe a little bit of a whole bunch of stuff. Whatever's on our minds, we're going to talk about. Now, listen, we got some significant things to talk about here today. We've got AMC announcing a 31-hour-long Marvel movie marathon. That's crazy. Got a whole bunch of stuff to go through in the movie news feed as well. But before we get to any of that, let's get things started right off the top. And this news just kind of broke out this morning. Apparently, even though there have been talks and whispers that maybe Christopher Nolan would direct the next James Bond movie, maybe Danny Boyle would direct the next James Bond movie, maybe Blade Runner 2049 director Denis Villeneuve would direct the new James Bond, but apparently it seems like Danny Boyle has just confirmed that he is indeed going to be directing the 25th installment of the James Bond franchise. Now, the director of such films as Trainspotting, 28 Days Later. Of course, he won an Academy Award as the best director for Slumdog Millionaire, 127 Hours and things like that. He was recently at a screening of one of his upcoming TV series that he's producing, and somebody asked him about the James Bond film, and this is what he said. He said the following. He said, "We are working on a script right now, and it all depends on that, really. I am working on a Richard Curtis script at the moment. We hope to start shooting that in 6 or 7 weeks. Then Bond would be right after that at the end of the year. But we are working on them both right now. We've got an idea. John Hodge, the screenwriter, and I have got this idea. And John is writing it at the moment. And it all depends on how it turns out. It would be pretty foolish of me to give any of it away." Okay, so it sounds like right off the top there, it sounds like he's confirming he's doing it. Now, however, a couple of sites are running this headline saying Danny Boyle confirms he is directing James Bond and will shoot at the end of the year. It is important to point out that in Danny Boyle's actual words, he says it all depends on the script. So while it does sound like he's the one who's going to be directing it, whether or not it starts shooting at the end of the year seems like that's a little bit up in the air right now. He's working with his longtime collaborator, screenwriter John Hodge. He's working on the script right now, but he says it all depends on how that comes together. But he says idealistically, if that script starts to come together, then they're looking at shooting the next James Bond film, which should probably be the final James Bond film that Daniel Craig is our James Bond. We'll probably start shooting up near the end of the year. Look, I would have been thrilled with a Christopher Nolan directing a James Bond film. I would have been thrilled with a Denis Villeneuve directing a James Bond film. There are several directors I would have been thrilled directing a James Bond film. And Danny Boyle is one of them. Danny Boyle is a terrific storyteller. He has shown in his career that he can cross genres. He can do all different types of stories. And he always seems to tell them with a certain degree of grit and realness that I've just always appreciated. So the fact that he seems to be confirming that he's going to be directing the next James Bond film, I'm on board for that. That sounds good to me. The question here is, what do you guys think about Danny Boyle? Do you love it? Were you wishing for somebody else to direct it? What do you think about Danny Boyle directing the next James Bond film? Does it give you some excitement for it? Does it make you worried about it? Jump into the comment section and let me know what you guys think. Now, we got a whole bunch of emails from you guys that we're going to take as our main topics. But of course, before we get started with those emails, when you watch the John Campea Show, I want to make sure you're caught up to date with most of everything going on in the world of movie news. So we do that pretty quickly here with a little segment we call the Movie News Feed. First up, another big-name director may be getting into the superhero game. According to reports, Malcolm X and Do the Right Thing director Spike Lee is in talks with Sony to helm the comic book film Nightwatch. Nightwatch is a lesser-known Spider-Man character that offers an interesting dimension to the emerging new Sony Spideyverse. The film would be the fourth film in the new Sony franchise, joining Venom, Silver and Black, and Morbius. No other details were made available. Personally, this really intrigues me. Spike Lee is unlike any other director we've had in comic book movies before, and seeing what sort of story he brings to the table will be really interesting. Next up, It may not be the Key and Peele reunion comedy special I've been wanting, but according to reports, Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key have signed on to lend their voices to the upcoming Netflix stop-motion animated film Wendell and Wild. According to Deadline, Netflix has committed to finance and distribute the film to be directed by James and the Giant Peach Helmer, Henry Selick. Key and Peele will supply their voices for two scheming demon brothers. Selick is writing the script with Academy Award winner Jordan Peele and Clay McLeod Chapman. It may not be the Liam Neesons or Balake, but I'll take Key and Peele together any way that I can. Next, although it has been expected for some time, reports have now come out that Academy Award-nominated actress Margot Robbie will be playing Sharon Tate in the upcoming Quentin Tarantino film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Robbie is now in final negotiations, which are expected to just be a formality at this point. Margot Robbie joins Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt in the film described as set in Los Angeles in the summer of 1969 that focuses on a male TV actor named Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who's had one hit Western series and is looking for a way to get into the film business. His sidekick Cliff, played by Brad Pitt, who's also his stunt double, is looking for the same thing. The horrific murder of Sharon Tate, Rick's next-door neighbor in the movie, and four of her friends by the Charles Manson cult serves as a backdrop to the main story. The film sounds just incredible, and quite honestly, I don't know that I've ever been quite as excited for a Quentin Tarantino film before. Next up, the construction of the long-talked-about and planned George Lucas Museum of Narrative Art has now officially begun. According to Variety, the complex will include a 5-story building in addition to its narrative art collections spanning several media from paintings to film. The museum will also house dining, theaters, lecture halls, classrooms, and a public research library. At the groundbreaking ceremony, George Lucas said the following: "In my feeling, popular art is an insight into a society and what they aspire to, what they really are. It's telling the narrative of their story, their history." The construction of the complex is expected to take 3 years. The odd thing to me is that considering how much Hollywood values and celebrates its history, that a facility like this one doesn't already exist. I personally can't wait to visit it. Next, Mad Men and Baby Driver star Jon Hamm has just signed on to star alongside Natalie Portman in the upcoming psychological astronaut drama Pale Blue Dot. The film centers around a female astronaut played by Natalie Portman, who begins to mentally unravel after returning to Earth that causes a rift between her and her family. While in space, Portman's character, a married woman, begins an affair with a fellow astronaut played by Jon Hamm, and following her return to Earth, she discovers that her lover has entered into another affair with a trainee astronaut, throwing her into a spiral. I mean, don't you just hate it when a person that you're cheating with starts cheating on you with somebody else? I mean, that's just the worst. And finally, speaking of Baby Driver, one of the other co-stars from the film, Isa Gonzalez, has just officially signed on to appear in the upcoming movie Paradise Hills. Gonzalez joins We're the Millers and American Horror Story actress Emma Roberts, who also just happens to be Julia Roberts' niece, in the project. Paradise Hills centers on a mysterious boarding school where wayward young women are reformed to fit their surroundings' exact needs. Gonzalez will play a boarding school resident in the film. Gonzalez has no fewer than 5 upcoming movies in various stages of production at the moment, including the leading role in Robert Rodriguez's Alita: Battle Angel. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. Alright, and now you are caught all up to date with all the significant stuff going on in the world of movie news. Leave your thoughts, chat with each other about all that stuff that we just talked about. Alright guys, we're now going to get to the main topics, and of course the main topics are dictated by you. You guys email these into me. Now, how do you get a topic or a question on the John Campea Show? It's really simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put that word topic in the subject line. And of course, as always, keep your emails to 90 words or less. So let's get things going with the first topic. And the first topic today comes to us all the way from Regina Mallet, who writes, "My son has you on his laptop so much, I finally started watching you myself." LOL. Thank you so much, Regina. It's good to have you. I wanted to ask if you saw that AMC Theatres was going to do a 31-hour-long Marvel marathon leading up to the release of Infinity War. Yes, I'm a mom, and I know more about the MCU than many of your viewers. I have to ask, who would buy tickets to this? 31 hours? Can you imagine the smell in there? Wouldn't you want to be awake for Infinity War? All right, Regina, thanks so much. And yeah, for those who may not have heard, yesterday, News started going around that AMC Theatres, of course, a company I used to work with, AMC Theatres is doing a 31-hour long MCU marathon leading up that will culminate and end with the first screening of Avengers Infinity War. Now, I went to an MCU marathon screening leading up to the first Avengers film. That was fun. I went to a mini Captain America marathon leading up to Civil War. That was fun. I have never been to something in the neighborhood of 31 hours long. 31 hours long. And here's the thing, Regina, you bring up two very big concerns when it comes to a 31-hour long movie marathon. Concern number one, that theater is going to stank. That theater is going to smell so badly. And let's face it, even on our best days, sometimes us comic book movie nerds don't smell the best on our best days, let alone after 31 hours. Don't believe me? Walk around the convention floor of Comic-Con sometime and just take in a whiff of all the glory. Anyway, that movie theater is going to stink to high heaven by the time you get into hour like 20. Forget hour 31. By the time you get into hour like 20, you're going to be catching some awful smells. Anyway, besides that, the bigger concern for me would be this, is that when I get to see, now, granted, I understand I'm going to probably get to see the movie before it comes out. I understand that. But if I was there, and that was my first time watching Infinity War, if I was going to watch it for the first time, I want to make sure I am awake and alert and I'm catching everything as it is. I don't want to be in a 32-hour sleepless haze watching Infinity War for the first time. I want to be well rested. I want to have taken a bathroom break 30 seconds before the movie starts. I want to be well nourished. I want to be sharp. I might pop a Red Bull. I want to be ready to go to watch this movie by the time that thing comes around. Sitting down for 31 hours straight. Now look, if there's anything to justify a 31-hour long marathon screening, it's the MCU for sure. I mean, that's great. Now there are a couple of strategies you could employ here. Strategy number one is they'll probably give you a list of all the movies in order in which times they start. You could strategically say, okay, I'm going to go for the first bunch, and then these two movies back to back, you got to find two movies back to back that you think, okay, I can live without watching these two. I'm going to slip out of the theater, provided that, they'll give you in and out privileges with your ticket. I'm going to slip out of the theater, run home really quick, grab a 3-hour nap, maybe 3.5 hours if I can squeeze in 3.5 hours, do everybody a favor, take a quick 10-minute shower, and then go back to the theater and watch the rest of them. That's one strategy you could employ. However, there will also be people who will use this strategy. I'm going to buy that damn ticket, and I have no idea how expensive this ticket is going to be. This could be a $50, $60, $70 ticket, I'm not sure. But I'm going to buy this $70 ticket because, and I don't know if they're going to do this, but before, with other marathons AMC has done like this before, let's say the first screening of Infinity War is at 7 p.m., people who go to the marathon will generally get their screening 1 hour earlier than everybody else. So say like at 6 p.m. If AMC does that, I guarantee you there are going to be some people out there that will buy that $40, $50, $60, $70 ticket and skip the entire marathon just so they can come and watch Infinity War an hour earlier than everybody else. Come on, you know what's going to happen. You know people who will do this. I know people who will do this. Hell, I might even do it. So that's another strategy some people might employ. Another strategy will be, okay, I'm going to buy the ticket, but I'm just going to go for the last 4 or 5 movies. Instead of like the first 10, whatever. That could be another strategy. There's a lot of different strategy you could employ here. It all depends on, how much will the tickets be? Will AMC give you pre-assigned seats? Because if they don't give you pre-assigned seats, then you don't want to get up and leave, especially if you've got a good chair, because somebody else will swoop in and take your chair. So lots of different things. I don't know that I could do it. 31 hours, I'm going to admit to you right now, I don't think I could do it. Are any of you guys planning to go and do this? And also, if they do give you a screening of Infinity War 1 hour earlier than everybody else, does that change your mind about going and doing this marathon? I am dying to hear what some of you guys have to say about this. Jump down to the comments section and let me know. All right, let's move on now to the next topic. And the next topic today comes to us from Chris Lamb. And Chris Lamb writes, "Hey, John, I'm confused." That's okay. We all get confused sometimes, Chris. "I know this definitely isn't true for all deleted scenes, but Black Panthers sounded really important to the emotional context of important moments. This bothers me in other movies too. If the story/characters come first, isn't that more important than flow/dragging, which is subjective anyway? Wouldn't you rather have a scene that helps you connect, understand something better, even if it slows the pace down a bit?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, Chris. And for those of you who maybe didn't see one of the older episodes, we talked on the John Campea Show the other day about how the editor of Black Panther revealed 2 of the deleted scenes. One of the deleted scenes was a scene between Zuri, that's Forrest Whitaker's character, and T'Challa, just kind of setting up and showing you their emotional bond to each other, so that later when Zuri dies, I apologize guys, spoiler alert for those of you, for the 6 of you out there who haven't seen Black Panther yet, spoiler alert, I apologize for that. So that in a scene later when Zuri dies, and T'Challa's really torn up about it, that it would have a little bit of extra emotional oomph. The other deleted scene he talked about was a scene about 2/3 through the movie when Okoye and W'Kabi have a discussion about, well, we've got this new king now in Killmonger, and debating the philosophy that he brings to it. Those deleted scenes could have added a little bit more emotional punch to the scenes that come following, like when W'Kabi has a knife to his throat, when Okoye says, I will kill you for Wakanda. And when Zuri dies and T'Challa has an emotional reaction to that. It could have helped those scenes, yes. However, in understanding flow and pace to a story are so important. Because here's what it is. Flow and pace, bad pacing and a bad flow and a movie feeling like it's dragging, that's like taking a big glass of Kool-Aid and just putting in 1 squirt of vinegar. It kind of, I'll use the word infects, it kind of infects the whole glass. Just put in 1 squirt of vinegar and that changes the flavor of the entire glass of Kool-Aid. When a movie has bad pacing and feels like it's dragging, it can sour otherwise good material. So, as a director and as an editor, you're constantly in this battle of, man, which stuff do we keep, which stuff do we remove? Because I guarantee you there's 7 hours of context of scenes and everything that you could put in to add a little bit to this scene, to add a little bit to that scene, to add a little bit to that scene. There's hours and hours of content you could keep in the movie. But the challenge of the editor and the director, and this is why editing is so important, is finding that balance of what's absolutely necessary to have in there and what can the movie live without in order to maintain good story flow, good story pace, so we don't get that vinegar taste in the Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? And while those scenes he described sounded good, they sounded good. And would it have added a little bit more to that other scene? Yes. Would this one have added a little bit more to that other scene? Yes. But were they absolutely necessary? No, they weren't. Because I got it. T'Challa was really torn up that Zuri was murdered. I get it. Okoye and W'Kabi were lovers and they're on opposite sides of things in these, and Okoye doesn't care about their relationship. She is for Wakanda. I got those parts, even without those extra scenes. They would have been nice. They would have added some extra oomph. But at some point, you've got to draw the line, because I guarantee you there's probably about 20 other deleted scenes that could have added a little something to other scenes as well. You've got to be able to, at some point, to figure we've got to draw a line. What is absolutely necessary to the film? What is not absolutely necessary? And then what of those not absolutely necessary things can we still keep in without disrupting the flow of the film and without making the film feel like it's dragging? These are important things. And I agree with the editor, and I agree with Ryan Coogler as the director's decision to cut those scenes out. They sounded good. They sounded nice. Would have been cool to see them. But if he feels it would have made the movie feel like it was dragging, If that's what he felt, then I applaud his decision to cut them out. You got to be able to find that balance, or else every movie's going to be 3.5 or 4 hours long. So anyway, that's just the way I see that. Let me know what you guys think. Jump down in the comment section. What's your perspective on that whole thing about when do you delete scenes, when to give more priority to the flow of the story? Jump down in the comment section and let me know what you think. All right, now the final emailed in question of the day comes to us from Gabriel Mengesha, who writes, since we are on the hots for the new Fantastic Beasts trailer, the director David Yates, as much as talented as he is, will be directing 9 of the Harry Potter universe movies. I'm a huge Potterhead, and I kind of want a different voice in these movies, like Alfonso Cuarón in The Prisoner of Azkaban. Dream pick would be Guillermo del Toro. Your thoughts on this question and the overall of directors overstaying a property for too long? It's a great question, Gabriel, like a really good question. Because for those of you guys who've watched me for any period of time, you know that I kind of believe that a director, for their own sake and for the sake of the movies, shouldn't stay on a single property for too long. I think staying on a single property too long can start to stifle a director's creativity. I think we've seen that with Sam Raimi. I think we've seen that with Christopher Nolan. I think we've seen that a lot. There are exceptions, of course, there are. David Yates has done a pretty good job with his Potter films. I think we'll all acknowledge it. He's done a pretty good job. But could the Potterverse have, benefited even more from rotating in fresh directors, a new director, a new point of view, a new perspective, a new vision every couple of films? I think they could have. But there is one big roadblock to that. And that's that Harry Potter creator, J.K. Rowling, however you pronounce it. Sometimes I say Rowling, sometimes I say Rowling, and I always get people yelling at me one way or the other. But whatever. J.K. Rowling, let's go with that for now. That J.K. Rowling really likes David Yates, and she likes working with him. And as long as that's the case, you're never going to get another director in there. I don't care if you're Kevin Tsujihara, the CEO of Warner Brothers, you are not going to be able to get another director in there if JK likes working with David Yates. And if David Yates still wants to direct them, and JK likes him and he's her pick, what are you going to do? You going to tell JK, sorry, we're not going to let you have the director you want. No, you're not. Because then JK Rowling goes, oh, really? Okay, well, guess what? I'm going to buy Warner Brothers and fire all of you. So that's probably what would happen there. So you cannot go away from that. And look, the good thing here is this, is while I believe the Harry Potter films probably could benefit from fresh directors coming in, and I think David Yates could benefit from getting away from Potter and doing some different things as well, the fact of the matter is he's not doing a bad job with these things. He's done pretty well. He's done a pretty good job. So at least we're not in a situation where, the director just sucks and he's cranking out crap and we still got to put up with it. At least that's not the situation. So could it be better? Yeah. But is it disastrous? No, it's not disastrous. He's turning out some pretty good material. So, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I think Crimes of Grindelwald, the trailer's out, looks really good. So I'm excited for it. All right, guys, that will do it for the emailed in questions today. Now I'm going to go over to the live chat. You guys are firing in a bunch of live questions. We're going to get to that. But before we do, you guys know, I've announced this earlier, that we've taken on a sponsor for the month, and that is the Stardust app. Now, I have turned down many sponsorships before because I don't use the product or I don't really think it applies to what we do here. But the Stardust app is great. It's a way for you to record your own 3 to 30 second reactions and reviews of TV shows, movies, and trailers, and then share them with the world. And I've told you guys, when you share something, tag me in it, and maybe you'll see your reaction and review on the John Campea Show in a new segment that we started earlier this week, simply called What We're Watching. Here's the newest installment of that. Take it away.
Going somewhere? No, we're going somewhere, and it's back to Hogwarts, son. Yeah! Okay, so Crimes of Grindelwald. Every little promo pic, cast pic, whatever, I've kind of been alright, that's cool, I guess. But seeing this trailer and instantly seeing Hogwarts, that sucked me right back in. I'm ready to go back. I'm ready to explore this world again, and I'm ready for another trailer. I'm ready to see it. Let's do this. They did it right.
I absolutely, completely agree with you. Look, I'm not even the biggest Harry Potter fan, and I liked the first movie, didn't love it, but there is something very special and magical about the trailer. You're right. Seeing Hogwarts and all that kind of stuff, it really does just feel like it takes you back into that wizarding world of Harry Potter, and I'm completely on board for it.
So I just saw the season finale of Jessica Jones, and I gotta say I'm a little bit disappointed because the show starts great, but after the second half of the show, it just dives into a big pile of manure. I miss the old days Jessica, the season 1 Jessica, and this season has zero character development for everyone. Disappointing.
Yeah, Jessica Jones season 2 quite disappointed me as well, but I'm a little bit different from you. I was kind of disappointed with it right from the beginning. I know you kind of liked the first half of the season, but to me, it just felt like we were starting at the same point we did before, except with a little bit of extra baggage. It was very slow. It was very, it felt like it was just mired down. It never really felt like it picked up its pace or got on track, and it just kind of felt like that all the way through the season for me.
Blood Landing, Episode 7, Book of Fate was really, really good. The ending, fantastic. Showing Tobias well fighting, that shows us that we didn't know he was powerful, but it also shows that he knows how to fight. He knows how to defend himself. He is a badass. I like him, and like my first was good, but watch the ending. There's a twist. I'm not surprised, but I am surprised. Go see it. Fantastic episode.
Yes, I've been trying to tell people, start watching Black Lightning. It's that good, and I'm so glad you mentioned Tobias, because while the main hero is great, while his daughters are great, while the wife is great, while Gambi is great, and all those characters are great, one of the main things that really takes it to that next level is Tobias Whale. He is such a great character, and I feel like we're finding out little bits and little bits more of him every single week as well. I love that element of the show.
I recently rewatched Evolution from 2001, an Ivan Reitman film. The same guy directed Ghostbusters, which is obvious because it's essentially just him trying to remake it for a new millennium. But instead of fighting Gozer at the end, we're blowing shampoo up a giant alien's ass with a fire hose. Wow, this movie. Things I do like about it, though, David Duchovny and Orlando Jones had surprisingly good comedic chemistry together.
Yeah, Evolution was one of those films that I had a lot of high hopes for, and it does have its moments of humor. You mentioned Orlando Jones and David Duchovny. David Duchovny kind of should have become a big major A-list star. Julianne Moore's also pretty good in it, but yeah, it just kind of fell flat. You're right. It felt like it just tried a little too hard in a few different areas, and it just never kind of became what it could have become.
Oh yeah, I'm a big old softie, yeah. A big old softie. I love this movie. I love love. And just because I can't find some of my own does not mean I cannot appreciate how the director expertly handles love in this movie. And the fact that we can feel it and we can empathize with the characters, even if we aren't them, is an experience that only some filmmakers are able to capture because the genre of romance is so difficult to do. But this movie does it expertly and fantastically.
You completely nail why I appreciate Call Me By Your Name, because it's about human experience. And that's the thing about art. And it's regardless about whether this movie or that movie is about white people, black people, rich people, poor people, straight people, gay people. At its core, if you can get a movie that touches on those shared human experiences, like love, then it transcends ethnicity or gender or financial situation. It transcends all that when you can really get a filmmaker that narrows in on that human experience. And I think Call Me By Your Name does exactly what you're saying. It really catches love in the perfect light, and I think it's applicable for everybody.
So I just finished watching this week's episode of Legends, and it was great. Nothing too surprising, but it was a lot of fun. Only Legends can turn a story about Elvis Presley into an episode of Supernatural. So props to the writers there.
You make a great observation when you say only Legends of Tomorrow can do this. And you know what? I think this show has become so silly, and that's kind of been a turnoff for me, but it's become so silly that it's almost created new avenues of stories that they're able to tell that you couldn't tell on any of the other CW shows. And so maybe that's a streak of genius. I don't know. Perhaps you're onto something.
I don't really know what to say about this movie because it made me feel super weird, but it wasn't as terrible as I was told from literally everyone. Jennifer Lawrence, I am scared of her now. Sorry. Javier Bardem, I think, did an alright job playing God. This movie's a metaphor. and if you're not religious, you might not get it.
You just captured what my biggest problem with Mother is. Like, it's a great piece of art. It just falls flat as a movie. And you're right. Jennifer Lawrence does a great performance. I think Javier Bardem gives a great performance. The problem isn't that the movie's a metaphor. The problem, this is the first thing I said walking out of it, is that it's a metaphor layered on top of another metaphor, layered on top of another metaphor, layered on top of another metaphor, which just ultimately becomes a big visual mess. And for that reason, I could never stand Mother. All right, and that will be this week's installment, or not this week, I'm going to do a couple times a week of what we're watching. Thank you to all of you guys who are sending in your recommendations, your reactions, your reviews. Now, I'm going to do a few of these every single week. Now, how do you get a video reaction and review on what we're watching on the John Campea Show? All you got to do is go over, look in the description of this video, and you'll find a link to get the Stardust app. Download it from there. The Stardust app just lets you record a quick 3 to 30 second reaction or review to any movie, television show, or trailer. Now, this is important. Once you do that, you record your video. Once you record, you're going to hit the next or the edit button and just tap on the screen and tag me at John Campea on your video, and that way I will make sure to see it, and maybe you will see your reaction on the John Campea Show on a What We're Watching segment. All right, thanks a lot to everybody sending this. You guys know I've been looking for a long time to get an easy way for you guys to submit video of yourselves, and I just think this is a great way to do it, and just the Stardust app is just a great social network for movie and television fans as well. All right, with that out of the way, let's get on to some of your live questions that you guys have been sending in, and we get things started with this. Muse Tack Reviews writes, my brother is saying each superhero movie should be based off just one comic book storyline with it being 100% accurate. I disagree. Shut him down. Oh, I completely disagree with him. Completely disagree with him. There is a reason why certain stories work better on a printed page and why we have things on a big screen. And there's a reason why you have to adapt things. Just because something works on a printed page doesn't mean it's going to work literal beat for beat on a moving picture, on a moving television screen, or on a moving movie screen. It doesn't mean it's going to work the same way. You have to adapt it, or else it won't come across right. So no, I absolutely 100% believe you need adaptation to make the best movie possible. Remember, the goal of a filmmaker is not to make a faithful adaptation. The goal of a filmmaker is to make the best movie possible. And for that, you need adaptation. All right, Zizu writes, have you seen the trailer for the new TV series Yellowstone starring Kevin Costner, Return to Western, and created by Taylor Sheridan? Looks awesome. Well, first of all, Taylor Sheridan is one of the hottest filmmakers in Hollywood right now. He has made some crazy good stuff. And I have heard a lot about this thing that he's doing, Yellowstone, but I haven't seen the trailer for it yet myself. But I already know I'm completely interested in it simply because Taylor Sheridan is there. Thank you for putting that on everybody's radar, Zizu. Everybody should keep your eyes open for this. Because seriously, everything Taylor Sheridan has done so far has been frickin' gold. So keep your eyes open for it. All right, Moose Tack Reviews writes up, also caught up on Gotham, Jerome is back. Yes, I did watch the most recent episode of Gotham. I'm still sick and tired of the Bruce character. And again, I'm sick and tired of the, look guys, this child, Bruce Wayne, he becomes Batman. Really? Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, I thought this show was supposed to be about Gotham and about Gordon. Seriously, while I didn't mind the Bruce character earlier in the show, I'm just becoming this whole fan pandering of, look guys, he becomes Batman. This is the kid who becomes Batman. It's nauseating. And I'm finding myself wanting to turn it off every time. And the kid who plays Bruce Wayne is great. I just hate the way they're using him right now. I just don't like their current way of handling him and what they're doing with him. It just becomes annoying to me to watch. So, but everything else, and the Jerome stuff is pretty good. The Oswald stuff they're doing is pretty good. The stuff with them in the prison and in jail is kind of neat. But I just hope they start using Bruce better and stop this whole pandering about, look guys, he becomes Batman. It's just stupid. Anyway, next one comes to us from Benny95, who writes, I have a theory on why Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place after Infinity War. Ant-Man will find out how to time travel through the quantum realm, leading into Avengers 4, then go back in time to undo the events of Infinity War. Thoughts? It is certainly a possibility, and that is a popular theory going around right now. I kind of hope it's something different from that because, man, really? The heroes get in trouble. They utilize time travel to go back and change the thing that got them in trouble. Really? We haven't seen that 100 times? And look, if that is what they do, maybe they'll do it in a fresh, creative, fun way and it'll work. I'm kind of hoping they find some other way of doing it rather than the old tried and true, let's use time travel loophole. It's just that it's been done so many times. Again, they might do it and they might do it great. And that's wonderful. I just hope they come up with something more creative than let's just go back in time and fix it because it's such a thing they've done. It's such a overused trope. Anyway, James McGee writes, just saw The Big Short directed by Adam McKay. Fantastic movie. I think this might be my favorite movie of his. It's absolutely my favorite movie of his. And it's such a really good movie, but it's a movie you almost got to watch 2 or 3 times because they throw information at you so rapidly in the film that I felt like after I watched it for the first time, I loved it the first time I watched it, but I felt like I had to catch my breath after the movie was done. And I felt like I probably missed 20% of it. And I had to go back and I watched it again like a couple of days later. And I was able to absorb more that time around. But it really is one of these movies, you'll like it the first time you see it, but to really appreciate it, I feel like you got to watch it a couple times just because of the rapid pace that they're throwing all this information at you. All right, next up comes to us from Koba, who writes, just rewatched Theory of Everything. Great film. Oh, absolutely, it was a great film. And of course, a great time to rewatch it with his passing. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago that he passed? So it's a really good time with the passing of Stephen Hawking to rewatch that film. Let's see. Dark Knight 46K writes, getting real impatient for this Infinity War trailer. Everybody calm down. It's coming soon. It's coming soon. The movie's coming out in like 6.5 weeks. It's coming out soon. Don't worry about it. Just revel in this. Just revel in the anticipation right now. But you're not alone in your impatience, Dark Knight. I read comments all the time. People are getting impatient. Chad Van Soik writes, would movies be better if more studio executives had writing backgrounds in college or earlier in their career to be a better filter on bad ideas? No, I don't think so. I think I want my movie execs to be just really good at other things. I want them to be really good at being able to understand the market, being able to understand their demographics, being able to understand the business aspect of things, what will work, what will not work, and all that kind of stuff. And then hire other people to be the filter about, okay, this is a good idea, this will make a good movie, because it's not just about making a good movie, it's about making a good movie that will sell. I mean, because for a lot of films, hey, it's great if you make something that a lot of people might think is the best movie ever made, but if nobody's going to go to see it, then that's going to lose us money, and we can't do that. So I like my studio executives to be really good at the business of movies. And if they're really smart, then they hire good people who are really good on the creative aspect to act as the filter between the directors and producers and the top executives as well. And you've got that layer in there as well. So no, I don't think the business people should also be writers. I want them to be really good at the business. Let other people be really good at the creative. Micah T writes, I think you're one of the realest dudes online. You always tell it how you see it and are the first to admit if you're wrong and appreciate it. Oh, thanks so much, Mike. I mean, look, that's one of the great things about movies. I love being wrong. I mean, like, I love it. Like, for instance, let's take, for example, the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie. I thought for the longest time it was going to be a waste of time. I thought it was going to be garbage. I thought it was useless to even try to go back to Star Trek, blah, 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 blah. But then I watched it, I'm like, damn, I like this. This is really good. I mean, so I love finding out that I was wrong about something in movies, especially when I'm negative about something and then find out that it's actually really good or something that I like and appreciate. That's great. I don't understand the mentality of people just deciding, I don't think this looks good, and then watching it and go, well, no, I refuse to like it anyway, just because I always said it wouldn't be good. I don't understand that mentality. I love it when I find out I'm wrong about a movie, because it means there's something new I'm enjoying that I wasn't expecting to enjoy. I think it's great. Okay, let's move on here. Next one comes to us from Luis Blanco, who writes, I want to see just the OG Avengers fight Thanos for just a bit. Probably not going to happen and probably illogical. Just wishful thinking. Well, if you heard us talk about Mark Ruffalo's comments yesterday, Ruffalo makes it sound like we're going to get Thor and Hulk and Loki and Korg and maybe Heimdall and Valkyrie and everybody fighting Thanos maybe right at the beginning of this movie, and they lose. So setting up another temporary fight with Thanos before you get to the big ultimate one probably doesn't work pace-wise. It would be cool, but at the same time, I think a lot of people want to see Black Panther in that fight. A lot of people want to see Ant-Man in that fight. A lot of people want to see Doctor Strange in that fight. A lot of people want to see Guardians of the Galaxy in that fight. So while it would please some of us to just see the OG Avengers fighting him, I think it would also alienate a bunch of people who want to see all the new characters in there as well. So it's going to be a balancing act. It's going to be interesting to see how they decide to navigate that. All right. Next one comes to us from, pardon me, Jordan McCoy, who writes, estimates point to Black Panther beating Tomb Raider at the box office this weekend. Will be interesting to see which one ultimately comes out on top. I still think Tomb Raider is going to top it. I still think that. Black Panther's going into its 5th week. At some point, it's going to be topped. And I think this is going to be the movie that does it. I might be wrong about that. We'll find out in a couple of days. But I think Tomb Raider will be the one to top it. And you know what? I saw Tomb Raider. I put up my review for it the other day. And it's actually a better movie than almost any other video game movie ever. It's not good enough to break the curse and to throw open the floodgates of a new golden age of video game movies. But it's not bad. I don't think it's a bad film. I thought it was fun. I thought they nailed the adventure aspect of it. I thought they gave us a really good new hero character in Lara Croft. I think Alicia Vikander was very good in the role. Not a great villain. Some of the dialogue doesn't work. The flow's a little iffy, but there was enough good stuff there that I actually think it's not bad. And because of that, I think it'll top it. So who knows? We'll find out in a few days. All right, guys, I just have time for a couple more questions, but listen, if I don't get to if you've sent in a live super chat question and I don't get to it, don't worry. A little bit later today, I will have a John Campea Show companion video go up where I will answer any question that I don't get to here in the next couple of minutes, okay? All right, next one comes to us from James Diesel, who writes, check out Greta Van Fleet, very Zeppelin inspired. All right, I've never heard of it, James, but I will keep my eyes open for it. Thanks for the recommendation. Med6814 writes, have a good day. Well, thank you very much. I'm already having a pretty good day, but now you just made me even happier. All right, Patrick Conway writes, just realized David Yates would have done 10 Potter movies by November. He's only made 2 average movies, and he doesn't seem tired. Well, see, that's the thing. I still think Potter could benefit from new blood, new perspective, new vision. But at the same time, it's not like he's been cranking out crap, right? He's been doing pretty good. So could it be better? Sure, I think there's room for it to be better. But at the same time, it's not been bad. We've all been pretty happy with what he's been putting out. So there's a line there. There's a balance there to see. So there's positive and negatives on both sides of it, I'm sure. Hans Gruber writes, oh, hi, John. Any scenes that just give you instant chills? Mine is the fight scene in... I don't know what that is. Return of the Jedi. Between Vader and Luke after he finds out about Leia. Epic score. Well, that entire scene, that entire Emperor's throne room scene is just incredible. Like, it's just probably my favorite movie scene of all time. It's a mix between the dramatic elements that are going on there between Luke and Vader. It's the fight itself. It's the musical score. It's the Emperor in the background. Good. Like, it's all of that just brought into one big bunch of awesome. And it's my favorite movie scene of all time. All right, time for 2 more quick questions here. Phil Lee writes, they're doing Iron Spider suit now because they can't do it later when the MCU/Sony collaboration ends. Maybe, well, you could still do an Iron Spider suit. You just couldn't say it comes from Tony Stark. But you know what, Phil? That's not a bad theory. It's not a bad theory. That maybe they feel the need to rush doing it right now, just in case they can't do it later. But then again, what's the rush? I mean, why the need? To me, there's never a need. There is no need to have Spider-Man in an Iron Man Jr. suit. There's no need. I don't care that they did it for a bit in the comics. That's irrelevant to me. For every 1 issue with him in an Iron Man Jr. suit, there's 100 issues where Spider-Man's just cool enough without it. I still don't think he needs it. I don't see the need to have it. But if they're thinking he needs it, then your theory, Phil, could hold a lot of water. That could be right on the money. All right, and the last question we'll take today, we're going a little bit over time here, comes to us from Drinks on Me, who writes, they need to add motion capture performance to these live action Disney remakes. Otherwise, the characters just look plain and conventional, like the animals in Jungle Book or the clock in Beauty and the Beast. Agree? No, I don't necessarily agree. Because look, I think an animator can get the way a panther moves a lot better than some human actor trying to mimic the way a panther moves. I think an animator could get it a whole lot more accurate. Some things are different, like a gorilla who moves more human. Like, yeah, you get a motion capture for that, stuff like that. But no, I don't really think they need to motion capture everything. I think there are some things that might come across more believable and more right if an animator just takes it from scratch and does it, like a clock. No human knows how to move as a living anthropomorphic clock. So yeah, I don't know that I agree with you. I mean, look, motion capture has its place, and it's an incredible technology, and it's used by the right directors in beautiful ways. And we're going to see it increase, certainly over the coming years. But I don't necessarily think it needs to be in everything. I think there is a skill that animators have that can probably do it a little bit better than an actor could in some situations. And we'll see. But maybe I'm wrong about that. That's just the way I'm thinking about it off the top of my head. But maybe you're right. All right, guys, that's all the time I got. Once again, I will get around to all the remaining questions a little bit later today in a special companion video. Keep your eyes open for that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for this installment of the John Campea Show. Hey, listen, guys, do me a favor. If you're somebody who enjoys these shows, the whole reason my shows are even able to exist is because of the support of those awesome people who are my Patreon supporters. Listen, do me a favor. If you like watching my shows, go on over to patreon.com/John Campea and get all the information about, number one, what it means to be a Patreon supporter. Number two, how being a Patreon supporter actually keeps this show on the air. And number three, what benefits there are to being a Patreon supporter, like our Facebook group, like audio-only versions of the podcasts for our Patreon supporters as well. And then maybe you'll decide to be a Patreon supporter too. And of course, guys, make sure you follow me on Twitter, simply @John Campea. All right, guys, that'll do it for me for this installment of the John Campea Show. I'm just tickled you decided to join me today. Leave your thoughts and comments in the video comment section below. That'll do it for me. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.